and we'll dive in here. And if you've ever seen me speak, this is where I start almost every presentation, which is the most dangerous words in college planning. If you get in, we'll figure it out. Hope is not a strategy. And so when we look at these, everybody has best hopes. We want to get to college, get a great education, no debt. There's all these big goals, but the reality sets in. The commonality with the schools on this board is they're all in the race to 100, that there'll be $100,000 for 1 year of undergraduate education very soon. And all of these schools do not offer merit-based scholarships. Awesome schools, but if you're a higher income family, you will likely pay full price. Nothing against you. It's just the reality of how they run their business. And we'll dig into that a little bit more. But really for us, it's create a list that is a great, a lot of times we talk about an admissions safety school. We think you also need a financial safety and understand what those parameters are so that you don't get in over your head with education. So, Alyson, I don't know if you had a comment on this kind of slide. I know we teed it
Yeah,
up.
I think Joe hit the nail on the head. I mean, we really don't ever want to hear this from any family, whether it be a married family, a really financially stable family, because you just never know. But especially when you are dealing with this divorce family dynamic, there's just so much that goes into that. And if the communication isn't solid, we just really encourage folks, like Joe said, to not to remove this from your vernacular, that if we get in, we'll figure it out, because you wouldn't do this for a car. You wouldn't do this for a house. You wouldn't go into it and say, oh, well, I really want that Lamborghini. It's $300,000. We'll figure it out. If I can get my hands on the red one, we'll figure it out. So approach this with just a really responsible mindset, and know that, in this situation, you're probably going to have to be dealing with someone else who might have a very different mindset about, if you get in, we'll figure it out as well.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, it's a lot to get into, and we don't want the college dream to become the college nightmare. So, some of our more extended talks on this get into the different steps, but really it's looking at what's it going to cost us out of pocket, what's our budget, and we'll talk about how to combine the budgets, getting clarity on this is what we have for college, and then that's the only way you can know what your gap might be, not on a 1 year basis, but on a 4 year basis, and really looking out. What I think is missing in the process is if you go here, someone's going to take out 120,000 in loans, and someone's going to have over a $1,300 a month payment, and then your take home pay is sitting over here. So it's really just, kind of that a crystal ball to like, this is not a great outcome because making that payment is going to be pretty tough. And then the other reality from a financial literacy standpoint is if you look at these total repayment numbers, the only solutions being offered are stretch your payments out for 25 years, be in debt until you're 50, and pay us, 3, 4 times as much interest over that time. So the federal government and Wall Street are happy to do that for you. They got plenty of runway. So again, this is what we're going to try and avoid, and have full transparency and look at schools on a side-by-side basis to get you there. And then we're going to layer in the fact that we have a blended family dynamic as well to make that even more complicated. If you haven't heard, college is expensive. We do have, I mentioned the race to 100. And then we also have, our privates running, 85,000 plus. Our other kind of the elites running that 85 to 100. And then we got a big group of schools in that 55 to $75,000 range sticker price. And then our affordable in-state education for most of our marquee institutions is around 30,000. And then out of state, basically you can see here, there's a fascination with crossing a border and tripling your tuition. So it's a very similar education in many cases, but is it really worth the premium? And in some cases, the answer is yes. In some cases, they're recruiting you and they'll pay you to come because we know that the sticker price of college is irrelevant. You just need to understand what your unique factors are here. And free money in the form of scholarships and grants pay for about a third of college. And then when we look at those higher sticker price schools, 56.3% is how much they're discounting their tuition. So well over 50% on that and those big tuition numbers. So just keep that in mind. Sticker price is relevant. It's all about what will you pay to go to these different institutions. Okay, so we're going to dive into the kind of the tip of the spear. The FAFSA really kicks everything off. The free application for federal student aid. We're going to kind of approach this as if you're a senior. Right now, probably have just started. If you haven't started, most schools have, but that you're going to be going off to school in the fall. So we know that the free application for federal student aid kind of drives that federal formula. And there's been a number of changes to that. So if you've been through this before, stay tuned because there's some updates to how that's going to work for families, especially with divorce situations. So one of the things we're going to go through the timeline and what they look at and all that. But I think the number one thing is to understand that the student drives this process. It is the student applying for financial aid. The parent is what they call now a contributor. So, student kicks this off. They're the one that's that's applying for financial aid, but the parents as a contributor have to supply their income and their assets. So for the FAFSA, this is the definitions of how that works. If your parents are not married to each other, they live together, both parents go on the form, regardless of whether parents are same or opposite sex. That's, language is very clear. If your parents are divorced, separated, or never married, and they don't live together, the parent who provided the more financial support during the last 12 months is the contributor and must provide their information.
And
So
this has changed more recently within the last year. So it used to be custodial parent, and now it is the parent that provides the most income or provides the most financial support.
Mhm. Yeah, and so it used to be whoever they lived with the majority of the time in that last 12 months was the tiebreaker. But this, I think, even makes it more complicated to determine in a true, especially in a true joint custody, and everything's, for the most part shared. And they've further qualified in this year's terms, just as directly from the student aid website, if both parents provide an equal amount of financial support, or if they don't support you financially, the parent with the greater income and assets is the contributor and must provide their information. So, kind of if a tie goes to the runner, that's what they're saying. So, if there's an imbalance in who is providing more, that you can document that you are providing much more than another, even though the other may be making more money. They might have other more financial commitments. Maybe one of the spouses is you have not remarried and you've got one child and they've got four from another marriage. Well, that's a lot to spread around. Just because they make more money doesn't mean they're actually supporting your child more. So just things to think about. I think it's made it even more complicated than ever to figure it out. But hopefully this is helpful. This is documented right from there. And I made just a note here at the bottom, and I'll go through it with some special circumstance stuff at the end. It does not matter who claims the student as a dependent on their taxes. Typically in a divorce situation, it goes year to year. You change who claims them. So it does not matter who claims them on the taxes. Whoever the contributor is defined here. So just keep that in mind. And I'll come back to what the AOTC is, potential for tax credit, as we continue on.